I'm sure you're going to be putting that into perspective in the course of this particular broadcast. We welcome also your views. You can get us on X at KBC Channel 1. My X handle is at Manyara. And we start off with matters of illicit brew, where members of parliament are set to question the Inspector General of Police, Japhet Koome, over what they term as complacency by the law enforcement in stemming the manufacture and trade of illicit brew. Speaking on the floor of the House, the legislators said the latest death of 17 people in Kirinyaga could have been avoided had police ensured strict adherence to regulations.
Members of Parliament allege that police have failed in the war against illicit brew.
And therefore, Honourable Speaker, the problem is not just a problem that we can point at the county governments in terms of licensing of bars. It begins with law enforcement by the police.
And he's saying that the licensing of bars is a function of county government. But Mr. Speaker, county governments license bars. They don't license illicit brews. They don't license chana. They don't license. This is an issue of enforcement of the law, Mr. Speaker.
Several police officers have been detained for allegedly selling illicit liquor that had been seized and stored as exhibit.
Could the chairperson provide a report regarding the status of investigations into deaths of the victims of the illicit brew in Kangai village, Kirinyaga County, in February 2024?
I am hoping that the chair, other than pointing fingers, will take this opportunity through the committee in charge of Interior to now draft a national government level legislation touching on the licensing of manufacturers of alcohol, because that will not be left to the county government.
We should extend the same to tighten our laws and actually our policies even in the licensing from the counties, and even a possibility of reverting some of the function to NACADA.
The Speaker of the National Assembly has directed the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security to secure a response from the Inspector General of Police by Tuesday next week.
Honourable Speaker, the chair, as a person oversighting the police, must be emphatic in ensuring that his committee summons the Inspector General of Police to say what they are going to do to ensure that the police indeed do their work in enforcing the law as it is.
I've taken your guidance. We are going to communicate to get our response in record short time
On Tuesday.
Meanwhile, police in Vihiga have arrested a notorious illicit brewer and impounded several liters of illicit liquor and chemicals used in the trade.
Ndiposa wafisa chano walifanya msako kali katika Chebukwaya location, Chebukwaya division, kwa sababu walipata habari ya kwamba kuna mtu ambaye anauza pombe kwa hali ya juu kwa wingi, china yake anaitwa Atira.
Elsewhere, at least 100 people are expected to be charged in court after police in Kiambu arrested them for being involved in the sale and transport of illicit brew.
Manake community na wananchi kununguniziana habari, kupeana taarifa. Kuna watu ambao wanatumia unapata kwamba wanatumia chupa za zile kampuni ambazo ni nzuri kujaribu kutengeneza sumu yao, maneno yao.
In Meru County, Commissioner Jacob Oma warned those dealing in the illicit trade that the law will catch up with them.
SEC, machifu, manaibu ya chifu, pamoja na area managers na nyumba 10 wakishirikiana karibu sana na maafisa wa polisi wameweka doria na kufanya misako ya kila siku kuhakikisha kwamba wanaogema pombe zile haramu wanakamatwa.
The Meru County Commissioner said they are carrying out random checks in the bars licensed to establish whether they are selling the allowed liquor.
Now we will be awaiting to hear from the IGF, Japhet Koome, in regard to that particular matter. Now to the reason why it is hot as it is. Now, according to the Kenya Meteorological Department, it is warning that the temperature in several parts of the country is bound to increase in the coming days. The high temperature being witnessed attributed to the dominant dry winds commonly known as northeasterlies emanating from the Arabian Desert. However, nutritionists are urging Kenyans to stay hydrated, and that is as a main remedy for now.
Jivanji Garden in Nairobi County. On a normal day, only a handful of people could be found here relaxing, but not in this particular day. A good number of people are seen entering the garden, running away from the scorching sun.
The climate, yes, I think it's because of global warming. It has affected the climate change.
It is very hot, yeah, and the only way to mitigate it is wearing lighter clothes.
The weathermen, however, warn that these harsh temperatures could worsen in the coming days across the country.
For your information, this is nothing new. This is what is expected in February all the time. We will give you a statement that guides Kenyans and everybody in the East African region on the weather we are expecting in the next 3 months.
The high temperatures have been attributed to the dominant dry winds, namely the northeasterlies emanating from Arabian Desert and which contain dust particles that move in the atmosphere, causing heat circulation.
Going on.
Kenya Nutritionist and Dietitian Institute Chief Executive Officer David Okeyo cautioned of health implications in extreme cases.
Unusual low blood pressure, and this is because of the dilation of the arteries that carry the blood. So when the blood vessels open up, then the pressure goes down, and that can cause itchy skin also. It can also cause swollen feet.
As a coping mechanism, staying hydrated is important.
Hydration means you make your body hydrated with fluids, and that means you can take water. But apart from that, you can also eat foods that are high in water content, like watermelon, for example.
If you can, stay out of the direct sun and keep hydrated. Now to the story that is sending, shockwaves across the country in regard to how government spent taxpayers' money in the first 6 months of this fiscal year. Now, low budget absorption rates continue to stalk the government, with development vote lagging behind the recurrent budget. The Control of Budget report for the first half of 2023-2024 fiscal shows the government only spent a quarter of its development budget in the period between July and December. In the period under consideration, the government spent a total of 1.64 trillion shillings, which is 36.1% of the revised gross budget, estimated at 4.5 trillion shillings.
According to the report, the education sector was the biggest spender, with 308.2 billion shillings already disbursed out of its total allocation of 690 billion shillings. In the period under review, the Exchequer released 142 billion shillings to the counties. In the 6 months to December 2023, ministries and departments sought additional funds totaling 51 billion shillings. These includes 500 million shillings for the purchase of e-passport booklets, 1.5 billion shillings for the KICC facelift, 660 billion to cater for settlement of Mau Forest evictees, as well as 700 million shillings for the construction of a modern presidential dais at the State House Gardens. However, only 3.3 billion shillings was disbursed, piling pressure on the pending bills owed to contractors. The stock of public debt increased by 8.4% to 10.28 trillion shillings as of June 2023 to 11.14 trillion as of December 31st, 2023. This was driven by a spike in the portfolio of external debt, which accelerated by 11.8% on account of a weak shilling. The government disbursed a total of 598 billion shillings towards public debt. External debt servicing amounted to 238 billion shillings, while domestic debt repayment was recorded at 360 billion shillings. The Office of the Controller of Budget is advocating for the timely release of exchequer funds and strict compliance with the set public debt ceiling to curb further growth in public debt.
Well, now that report has made it to various headlines across the country, and we're going to be sampling what the dailies have to say. Still on how matters of fiscal policy is that members of parliament want the stock of public debt audited so that the public is informed about the actual amount that Kenya owes. They are concerned that since the country has dollar and Kenya shilling denominated debts, it is hard to pinpoint the actual public debt figure.
Kenya's reliance on Eurobonds has raised concern about debt sustainability. There is heightened vulnerability in 2024, which coincides with the Eurobonds maturities. Where Eurobonds offer access to funds for development projects, managing repayments obligations remains a crucial challenge.
When are we going to come out of this debt hole? Because it's going deeper every now and then with very expensive Eurobond coupons, a rate of 10.5. And we are talking about debt sustainability.
Recent past, we've seen serious appreciation, so drastic appreciation of Kenya shilling. Yet we still continue putting our debt in terms of Kenya shilling. I don't know whether it has bothered you that the figures that are always reported are not correct. They cannot be accurate, they cannot be relied on as to how much you owe as at the time you're doing your audit.
Can the Auditor General comment on the effect of the latest Eurobond and how also we saw the dollar, or rather the shilling strengthened against the dollar?
In our view, we think that the issue can only be sorted out if a raft of issues, for instance, increased export and also general economic, development. I think those are some of the issues.
To exactly know what Kenya owns in debt, that's a call by a section of parliamentarians. Now let's drop to Nakuru County, Naivasha, where President William Ruto said the government is committed to strengthening devolution to enhance service delivery to the people. He says the Kenya Kwanza administration is working with all governors and irrespective of their political affiliation to spur inclusive growth and development. The anticipated county allocation increase, however, hit a snag, with the executive calling on the governors to give the executive time to steady the ship.
On the second day of the cabinet retreat in Naivasha, members of the executive interacted with the representatives from the Council of Governors and the ruling UDA party. Following complaints over delayed disbursement of county allocation, President William Ruto defended government, reiterating his administration's support for devolution.
Devolution is not an invention of us. It is an invention of the people of Kenya. The people of Kenya decided that they wanted a government as close as possible to them. And let me repeat for the upteenth time that at a personal level and this administration, we support devolution 100%.
The head of state called on members of the executive to work closely with county governments in the execution of their mandate, saying it would be counterproductive to sideline them.
The reason why we asked the council to come and have a session with us as we have this National Government Executive Retreat is because I wanted ministers here and their principal secretaries to understand that the counties are our partners. They are not our competitors. They are our partners. And there is a very big opportunity by us working with counties.
So maybe I urge us and urge our colleagues, because we're on the same side. When you see devolution, do not see Governor Waiguru. Don't see Governor Ahmed or Governor Sang. We are just holding office temporarily. see the reason why devolution was actually established.
While the Council of Governors and Senate have been pushing for an increase of a county allocation to 424 billion, the government says it is unable to meet the demand and will have to settle for a gradual increase.
Counties do not operate in a vacuum. Counties operate within the overall framework of the national government. So they had a desire of a certain figure, but it is all, as we said, we want to manage prudently, realistically, and within our means.
The government, however, says Kenya is already out of the economic quagmire and is on a recovery path witnessed by the shilling gaining against the dollar.
We must never be in the kind of situation that we have been in the last 2 years, where everybody in the world is waiting for us to go down. We must never find ourselves there. And that is why what Treasury did was very important. That even in the management of debt, they have now made sure that there will be no time that Kenya will be expected to pay $2 billion in one go.
There's strong evidence to show that economic recovery is with us. And that starts from the last quarter of 2023. And I did actually try to mention in area meetings that we have a growth of 5.6% in that quarter.
Tulikuwa changamoto ya deni na mnaona vile waziri anafanya. Wiki iliyopita aliweza kulipa madeni yetu. Umeona kulipa tu madeni shilingi yetu ambao tulikuwa tunapigiwa duru. Sababu shilingi imedhoofika na sijasikia nyinyi mkitusherehekea.
So as a ministry, we want to increase manufacturing, support the manufacturers, especially the local manufacturers, also increase exports. We will be ready to work with the country to look for markets for their produce so that we reduce dependence on inputs, and we are really energized.
Cabinet secretaries will individually be outlining their performance record for the past 1 year in accordance with performance contracts signed last year.
Though the National Treasury says that the economy is on a recovery path, it looks like county governments will have to wait longer before they can get the 424 billion shillings they wanted as county revenue allocation.
Now, with that particular report from John Jacob Curate indicates that, maybe that particular retreat in Naivasha has failed to unlock the deadlock over the 450 billion shillings that the counties are demanding as equitable share of revenues. On the other hand, is that National Treasury is offering 391 billion to go to that particular kitty. We'll be looking at that. We cross over to Matters Sports, where the 20th edition of the Soya Awards received sponsorship to boost 6 million shillings from different partners ahead of the gala, slated for the 1st of March at the Kenyatta International Convention Center. The awards were initially set to be held on the 23rd of February, but were postponed following the tragic demise of the late world marathon record holder Kelvin Kiptum, who is among the shortlisted nominees.
It is my great honor to announce Faith Kipyegon Athletics.
This year's edition marks 20 years since legendary distance runner Paul Tergat conceived the noble idea of paying homage and recognizing the country's top performing sports personalities across all disciplines.
In 20 years, we started as a small came together those days. 3 categories. But you look now, we're up in 11 categories from about 4. How many? 4. Those days.
The theme of this year's Soya celebration, that has 11 categories, is celebrating sports excellence, which resonates well with the milestone the country's sportsmen and women have achieved over the decades.
We're happy that things have changed, and to me, my satisfaction and excitement is to see that we put our sportsmen at the center every day of what we do as our greatest assets that we have as a nation.
Among the sponsors who have come on board to support the 2023 Soya Awards are the National Social Security Fund, NSSF, Communication Authority of Kenya, CA, Kenya Pipeline Company, KPC, Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority, and Kenya Academy of Sport. The awards were initially set to be held on 23rd of February, but were postponed following the tragic demise of the late world marathon record holder Kevin Kiptum, who is among the shortlisted nominees.
Well, that puts a cap on matters in the headlines this morning on Good Morning Kenya. Be sure to visit our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke, for further details. As a Met department there gave a warning to citizens. You and I remain hydrated, avoid the direct sun. I'm Regina Manyara. I leave in the capable hands of my colleagues for the rest of the broadcast.